With the Iranian threat against Israel now, for the most part, neutralized, at least for the time being, President Trump is turning his attention back to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Over the weekend, President Trump urged for progress in the ceasefire talks after saying Friday that an agreement could be struck within the next week. As negotiations continue, President Trump is being urged to resist any plan or proposal that would resurrect the so-called two-state solution. Now, here to discuss this and why this would be such a bad idea, but somehow finds its way into these negotiations every time, regardless of political party in power, is former Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. She is leading an open letter to the president on this issue. She was a member of Congress from Minnesota. She now serves as the dean of the Robertson School of Government at Regent University, and she also is the chair of the FRC Board of Directors. Michele, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Tony, thanks so much. Appreciate being on with you today.
So let me ask you this, for those, let me just start with this. For those who do not know, what is the two-state solution and why is it a bad idea?
Well, that's a division of the land of Israel. It's a proposal that somehow there will be peace from Arabs, that they will not make war against the Jews if the Jews give up their land. For over 30 years, this has been enshrined in what's known as the Oslo Accords. It's never worked. It was tried in Gaza. It's been a complete failure. And so now, once again, it seems like it's being resurrected. It's a terrible idea. It only leads to hostility. It's the antithesis of peace.
So you brought this up, but let me just put a fine point on it. Gaza. That was turned over in 2005. The Hamas was elected in 2007. They've been leading that effort. So, in effect, you've had a two-state solution. They've controlled it. Israel's not been in there. They pulled out everything, even dug up the bodies of the dead, left nothing behind. And what happened? On October 7th, they attacked Israel. I mean, who cannot see that?
Right. No, that's exactly right. And the term is commonly known as two-state solution, meaning Israel proper is supposed to give up their legal land to Arabs in the promise for peace. But it's not a solution, as you know. It's a two-state proposal that's been tried already, as you said, and a complete and utter deadly failure. So it is ridiculous to continue to revive these hopes that somehow by carving up Israel that there will be peace. Without a doubt, this has been completely rejected by the Jewish people in Israel. It's been rejected by the Israeli Knesset. They don't want this proposal because they know it will never work. And so it's wrong for the United States to bring up this idea and to try and impose this on Israel. It would be a tragedy.
Michele, let me ask you this question, because you're right. The actual polling data in Israel post-October the 7th shows the vast majority of Israelis are opposed to this. Even Arab Israelis are opposed to the idea. Yeah. So there's no appetite for this in Israel. So we've talked about the historical aspects of this and what happened just in recent times. The polling data shows it's not popular. But let's talk about from a Christian perspective. You weighed in, you and Bill Koenig wrote a letter, an open letter, which many have signed on to. And folks, you can sign on to it as well. You can text letter to 67742. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Letter to 67742. But Michele, talk about the biblical reason we should not be pursuing this as a country, and we should not, as Christians, be silent about our government pursuing it, regardless of what party's in power.
Well, there is no issue more clear in the Bible than the issue of the covenant and God's covenant land. And what we know is that there are blessings when we bless Israel. There are cursings when we curse Israel. And so the Bible is clear about that in Genesis, but also in the book of Joel. It's extremely clear. There's only one criterion upon which nations are judged, and that's how nations treat Zion. And Joel 3, verse 1 through 3 is very clear. It says, no nation should seek to divide the land or scatter the people. That's what God will judge nations on. and individuals are judged whether we bless or curse. So God has been very clear from the beginning of the Bible all the way through the Bible that the centerpiece, the covenant, is that the Jewish people are to be in the land of Israel, Genesis 15:18, and the mission is clear. The purpose is clear. All nations on earth will be blessed. So just think, if we push dividing the land, that means we don't want blessings for families across the earth. That's not what God wants. And so we need to stay in line with what God tells us in his word. This is about as clear as it gets, Tony, in the Bible.
And that promise of blessing or curse is not in the future, it is in the here and now. In fact, Bill Koenig, who you have drafted and posted this letter with, is the author of a book, Eye to Eye, where he catalogs all the events that have occurred in the United States when America has been on the wrong side of this issue.
Well, that's true. And the interesting thing about Bill Koenig is that he was the only evangelical Christian in the White House press corps for years. And he noticed a pattern that when presidents pressured Israel to divide the land, the United States would experience a catastrophe. And he began compiling this. He did all the research, and it's proved to be true. It proved it to be true in President Trump's first administration when he proposed his Peace to Prosperity plan, which was a phased development, which if Arabs did certain things, Israel would divide its land. A terrible tragedy occurred, which was COVID and the COVID task force. So, you know, it's very complex causality. But again, the Bible is true. And we've seen it prove true in real time. And so it's imperative that all of the gains of the Trump administration not be lost.
Michele Bachmann, always great to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tony.